Good morning, everyone. It is Saturday. It's time for our training pod. We're going to go a little bit deeper dive into what I look at as the success cycle. I've heard of it called the racket. And if you can figure out what your rackets are, you can get ahead of them. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. All right. So I know every one of us have experienced times in our lives when we felt like we are on top of the world. Everything's going great. Everything's wonderful. You can't do anything wrong. Things just seem to be just coming at us and right and good and wonderful and everything's great. And I know we've all experienced days where we just feel like we're at the bottom of the heap. The whole world's on our shoulders. Everything's against us. We can't do anything right. Everything's just kind of dark and murky around us. And we're going to talk about that today because it's actually a cycle. And we're constantly somewhere in that cycle. But if we don't realize it, it's really easy to stay in the bottom section, right? Gravity is going to pull us there. Human nature is going to pull us there. It's natural tendencies to stay there. So my goal today is to wake you up to it and let you know that if you're somewhere in the bottom of that cycle, you got to get back up again. And it's an intentional move. So if you think about our cycle as looking at something like a clock, we're going to talk about that today. The 12 o'clock is top of the world. 6 o'clock is bottom of the heap. And we're going to talk about everything in between. So when we're at the top of the world, that's where the miracles happen. That's where all the fun happens. That's where we want to be more often. We're going to kind of jump around a little bit today. We're going to start at the bottom. Okay, so if you're making some notes on your paper, you're going to want a big circle. Just kind of take some notes by each of the numbers. 6 is the bottom. That's being, feeling all alone and feeling like you're kind of being crushed sometimes, that there's a crushing weight on you, feels like no one understands, the whole world's against us. It can feel very dark, very alone. That's where depression lives. That's where hope is lost. And we don't want to stay there. So if you know people that are stuck there, that are staying there, it's time to give them a hand and help them out of that hole, because no one should be staying there on a long-term basis. Number 9, like I said, we're going to just jump around today. Number 9, well, maybe it feels like there's some hope again. You can start to feel some traction. You're starting to feel some things going in the right direction. You're pulling yourself up out of that funk, out of that dark place, and you're starting to see a little bit of light again. 3, on the other hand, is when you start to feel like you're unraveling, when you start to feel like you're losing it. And you've had this good place and things are coming undone and you're just kind of feeling like that scramble, that out of control. 11, you can see the finish line. You just got to push a little bit more and you're going to get there. This is the point where it's all hands on deck and giving it all you've got and pushing until you can hit that top again. 4, everything's falling apart. You look at all the things you've worked so hard for and you just feel like you're going to lose them all. And it just can feel like, what's the point? And it's all just kind of unraveling. 8 can feel like it's really hard. And it's difficult to get out of that place. You're crawling up out of that place, but that determination sets in and that clawing factor. I'm just going to claw myself out of this mess. 5, things are getting bad. And then you realize it might get worse before it gets better. And you can just feel that you're slipping and that you've slipped really at that point. 7 is the realization that you can't stay stuck. You can't stay in that place that you were at 6. You've got to make some changes. And it's that gut response of whatever it takes, I'm going to dig myself out of this mess. 10, I can hold my head up again. I can smile easily again. I'm on a path to make things better. I can do this. 12 is that top of the world. That's that high flying place that it just feels like everything's working out for you all the time. Everything's great. You're on the top of your game. Everybody that you talk to, you're impacting for good and you're making a difference in the world. You're going to have moments like that. We want to teach you to hold on to more of those moments and live more at the top of this rather than at the bottom of this. 2 is, what was I thinking? Everything was fine, but now it's not so fine. And what's going on? And you know, things are in trouble again. What was I thinking? 1 is, I'm not good enough. Have you ever had that feeling? I think we all do to some extent. I'm not good enough. And it probably stems from something that happened in your childhood that may or may not have even been a big thing, but if it impacts you and it plants that seed that you're not good enough, it's time to let that go. We don't want to carry that baggage around. When you start to feel that and you're questioning, that's the beginning of a cycle. It's the beginning of the fall. So this is kind of how I drew it in my book. I just share my fantastic art with you today. But you know, you feel great when you're on the top, but it can start to feel wobbly really quick. Sometimes it's a word that can trigger us. Sometimes it's a thought that just flashes through our minds of, I'm not good enough, or I didn't do that quite right, or I should have done that better, or I'm not as good of a leader as so-and-so. Any of those thoughts can trigger us and make us fall off that perch and make us start to get unsteady footing. And before we know it, we're holding on and we're trying to grasp onto our success and we're trying to hold on, and then we know we're falling, and it's, you know, you can only fight it for so long. But the thing I want to talk to you about today is, don't stay down. Don't stay on the bottom. All it takes is a thought again to say, I can do this. I can't stay here. I'm better than this. I deserve more than this. I want my turn. I want this to matter. I want a better life. Whatever that thought is can help you get out from 6 and move on to 7 and then on to 8. And then you're clawing your way up again. I've drawn this guy that's at like 10, 11 a couple of times. And this is my favorite pose of him, of just like, I'm going to hold on no matter what. I'm getting there no matter what. He's holding on with hands and feet and just trying to get there. You're going to have to go through the work to get there. But guys, this is a cycle. We all go through it every day. We all go through it on a daily or weekly or monthly or yearly or decade. You can sometimes stay in a cycle on a certain subject for decades. So part of this process, part of going through the rev calls every morning and listening to the personal growth that we lay out in this company, is helping you get out of your cycle that you may have been in for longer than you even realize. How long you lay on the bottom is up to you. And we want to give every one of you a hand up. If you're down in that point on personal awareness, on, you know, your own courage, your own self-belief, we want to give you a hand up on that. If you're down in that place on belief for your finances and you feel like the whole world's against you and you just can't get ahead, we want to give you that hands up and help you start to get up on your finances. If it's a relationship, if it's just a mental mood, I have words that I've found and different things that trigger me, and you probably have them too. It's a little bit of a journey to try and figure out what your own triggers are. But as you start to recognize them and you find that trigger word that triggers and gets you off of 12 and onto 1, it's up to you how fast you complete that cycle and how fast you climb back up on top. It's totally in your control once you realize what's going on. So we're all walking towards a goal, right? But sometimes we take a step and we get triggered and we have to go through a little cycle. This isn't a great diagram. I was trying to draw this really quick last night and it's not exactly how I would have drawn it. I would have drawn it more like an actual loop and an actual loop and an actual loop. But you get the point. If you're walking along and you hit a cycle, somebody says something, you think something, something happens, something circumstantial or a thought, it can just be anything that can knock us off of our happy place. If you start to realize that that's happened, realize that you've got to recognize that it's happened, you've got to acknowledge, and you've got to start pulling yourself back up to a different thought that's going to pull you back up to that happy place. So if you have the thought, I'm not good enough, then you need to jump as quick as you can to thoughts of, well, other people have done it and other people are no different than I am. I'm as good as they are. I'm as good as everybody else. I can have my turn. I'm in the right place. I'm in the right company. I can do this. And having those positive thoughts is pulling yourself back up the other side and getting back up to that happy place. Or you can choose to mire and just stay in the bottom and stay there as long as you want. But our goal is to empower you so that you choose to get back up. You choose to brush yourself off faster. Sometimes I will make mistakes now and I'll realize that I've fallen and I literally will just figuratively brush myself off and I'll laugh and I'll change that vibration because I'll realize, well, that was dumb and I just fell off, right? I just fell off the world and collapsed to the bottom and now I'm in a dusty heap. So I'm going to brush myself off and I'm going to put myself back together again. And I'm doing this in my head just fast. I'm going through that cycle and realizing, okay, now it's time to put myself back together again and go try again. So whatever you're doing, if you're falling at it, you're normal. We all do it. We all have moments where we say the wrong thing or we say too much. Now I just learned to laugh about it and I will look at the person or I'll call them back and I'll say, hey, I am so sorry. You caught me in a moment where I think I was just overly excited and I kind of dumped all over you and I'm so sorry. Let's have that conversation again. Are you open to looking at a video? If I sent you a video that can just give you a short overview, I don't want to let you make a bad decision based on my oops moment. And you can have that restart with people. Most people will laugh with you and will say, okay, yeah, sure. Or some people will just say, you know what, I don't have time for this. This isn't my thing. If they want to stay under their rock, that's okay. That's they're down in the bottom and they're miring about something. It's not the right time for them that day. Let it go. Circle back with them in a month or two and just check on them when you're in more of a high flying disc. So guys, everybody you talk to is somewhere on that cycle. And every moment of every day, you are somewhere on that cycle. So my challenge to you is just be more aware of it, be more intentional, take more time to figure out how to stay up here and realize it's normal and it's going to happen to go down and around sometimes. But when it does, don't stay there. Don't stay there. It's not real. You're not a failure. You're not a mess. You don't deserve bad things. Whatever it is that you've been telling yourself down at the bottom, it's lies. It's not true. And we can help you get back up. There's lots of people in your team that have hands out that are ready to help lift you back up again. That's the beauty about network marketing. You don't have to do the cycle alone. There's always a team to cheer you on, to lift you back up, and to get you into a better place when you have those moments when you're down. So that's it for me today. I hope that you are having a great day. I hope that you will intentionally look and find where you are at on your cycle and take control of it. Because that's the main thing of all of this. We really just want to be able to empower you so that you have control of your life and that you are making it the best life that you can. Thanks, everybody. That's it for us. Have a rest of a great Saturday.